Hello, boys and girls. Thanks for tuning back in for part 6 of my Fox Ate My Homework by David Blaze. Again, you can find this on Amazon Prime you can find this on Amazon Kindle if you'd like to read along with me. Today, we will probably be finishing up the story, and then the next few videos will be activities that are incorporated with the book. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and finish this off. Monday afternoon. My Uncle Mike picked me up from school that afternoon. I was glad I didn't have to take a long trip home with my mom while she was mad at me. I should never have told her about Fox. I don't know why I expected her to believe such a crazy story. My stomach churned as we got closer to the house. We were going to pack up our belongings and leave forever. How was school? My uncle asked. It turned out to be a pretty good day. I didn't get into trouble for not having my paper. I became better friends with Melissa. Shane went home early because he told the school nurse he had never felt so sick in his life. I knew the real reason he left was because he was too embarrassed to stay at school. It was okay. When we got home, I walked as slowly as I could inside. I felt drained. There you are, my mom said when we walked in. Mr. and Mrs. Hunter were sitting on the couch with her. They both said hi to me. My Uncle Mike put out a hand on my shoulder. I'll load some of these boxes in the truck. He pointed to the boxes along the wall that he and my mom must have packed. There weren't many things because his house had already been furnished the way my great-grandma had left it. We mostly had clothes and kitchen utensils packed up. Use the restroom if you need to, my mom said to me. We're leaving in about an hour. I put my backpack down. I hadn't eaten anything all day with the butterflies in my stomach. I didn't have an appetite. I'm good. We hate to see you leave, dear, Mrs. Hunter said to my mom. I wish you had more time. So did I. Mr. Hunter's knees cracked when he stood up and came over to me. Maybe it's for the best, he said to everyone. This house is older than I am. He grinned and chuckled. It even survived the Great Depression of the 30s. I remember learning about the Great Depression at my last school in the city. The stock market had crashed and a lot of people lost their money. It affected everyone and made life really hard. Mr. Hunter stood in front of me. We came by because we were going to ask you if you could watch our place for us while we're gone. Mow the lawn, water the plants. He shook his head. We're going up to our home in Wyoming for the spring and summer. Oh well. Now, I knew for sure life wasn't fair. They would have paid me to do it. Let's go, he said to his wife. She said her goodbyes and joined him by the door. He knocked twice on the wooden door frame. Yep, older than dirt. Thank you for the money, I told him as they walked out. I was referring to the $35 he gave me for the chocolate. He winked at me and looked over the house from the outside. She really is old. Back when she was built, people didn't have a lot of money and didn't trust the banks. He shook his head and pulled his wife along. A lot of them keep their money under their mattresses. I froze. My lumpy mattress. I rushed inside and told my mom to meet me in my bedroom. I was breathing hard and she asked me if I was okay. I didn't know yet. Was it possible? My great-grandma had died without a penny in her name? She didn't have a bank account. She didn't have any bank accounts, but she survived for decades selling rotten eggs. Did she have money hidden all along? I stared at my lumpy mattress when my mom walked into my room. Is everything okay? She asked. We need to finish packing and get on the road. My heart wouldn't stop racing. I felt like I was going to faint. I need your help. We need to pull this mattress up against the wall. She made a tisking sound with her tongue. We're not taking that with us. Uncle Mike has a bed for you. I looked up at her and pleaded with my eyes. I know you don't believe everything I've told you lately, but I need you to trust me right now. I have to see what's beneath this mattress. She looked at me and nodded her head. Okay, Jonah. We stood side by side and pushed with all of our strength to heave the mattress up against the wall. I almost lost my balance and collapsed beneath the monstrous weight. We stood back and stared at what was left beneath the mattress. I looked up at my mom and smiled. Her eyes looked as if they were about to explode out of her head. More money than I had ever seen lay in front of us. It was dollar bills stacked in ones, fives, 20s, 50s, and hundreds. There were more stacks than I could count. Mom, I said, gasping for air, is this enough of what we need? She smiled and wrapped her arms around me. She screamed like she was at a rock and roll concert. That was awesome. It's more than enough, she said in a broken voice. We don't have to leave. She let go of me and danced around the room, laughing in a way I'd never heard. She was the happiest I'd ever seen her. I reached down and touched a sack of cash to make sure it was real. This kind of thing didn't happen to kids like me. I've never even won a game of Duck, Duck Goose. It felt like gold in my fingers. I couldn't wait to tell Fox that I didn't have to dig a hole to China. We could be best friends forever now. Monday night. My mom cooked my favorite dinner that night: fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and buttery biscuits. She danced around the kitchen and hummed a happy tune I'd never heard. She banged the pot lids together like they were cymbals. I stood there and smiled while I watched her, knowing she could keep living her childhood dream. She thought she had lost this house and its memories forever, but now it would always be hers. Nothing could take away her happiness. Someone tapped on the front door. See who it is, my mom shouted, dancing to her own beat. Maybe they heard me singing and want my autograph. She threw her head up, laughed like a crazy person, and whipped the mashed potatoes. I shook my head. I didn't have the heart to tell her that her singing was worse than mine when I was in the shower. I opened the front door and froze. Fox stood on the other side on all four paws. That reminded me of the first time I had seen him. He was magnificent with his bright brown hair and aqua blue eyes and wide smile. I nearly collapsed like I had that first night. You shouldn't be here, I whispered to him. I turned to see if my mom had noticed him. She wasn't any the wiser. She was doing the salsa dance like a zombie. I smell chicken, Fox said. I'm starving. I crossed my arms and shook my head at him. He knew better than to come there when my mom was around. It was for her own protection. I'll bring you some later. Wait for me out back. Did it come from the magic box? He asked. I knew he was talking about the refrigerator. I hung my head. Yes. I started to close the door. He licked his lips, then slid through the doorway right past me. What was he doing? I had no idea how my mom would react when she saw him. I ran into the kitchen and waved my hands in front of her to get her attention. She stopped dancing, but swayed her shoulders from side to side. Loosen up, she whined. Don't be a party pooper. She started to dance again, but stopped when she looked over the kitchen counter. Fox was staring at her with his bright blue eyes. She grabbed my chest and held me back. Don't move, she whispered. It could be dangerous. She was breathing hard. What are you talking about? I asked her. This is Fox. I told you about him the other night. She pushed me behind her toward the back door. That fox is not your friend. It's a wild animal and could have rabies. She reached into her pants pocket and pulled out her cell phone. Hello? She said into the receiver. Mike, get here as fast as you can with your gun. This was not going well. I had to find a way to make her believe everything I told her about Fox. I couldn't lose my best friend. I snatched the cell phone from my mom and threw it across the room. Jonah, she shouted. Why did you do that? She took a deep breath. It's okay. You've been under a lot of stress. He's my best friend, Mom, I told her. You can't hurt him. She opened the door and motioned for me to slip out. He's a wild animal, Jonah. He's not a pet. He's not a dog. She was doing her best to convince me as she pushed me out the door. If he was, then he'd have a collar. Where's his collar? My Uncle Mike would be there any minute, and he wouldn't hesitate to shoot Fox. I had to stop this before it was too late. Tell her, I shouted at Fox. Tell her the truth. Fox stared at me for a moment, then looked around like he wanted to make sure no one else was watching. He stood up slowly on his two hind legs and looked squarely at Mom. I don't know, he said. Where's your collar? My mom shrieked and put her hands on her head. I was glad she didn't fall over because I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to catch her. Her mouth was wide open and her chest heaved up and down. It's okay, Mom, I assured her, nodding my head slowly, the same way she did at me when she wanted to make sure I understood something. She tried to grab me as I walked around her and over to Fox. I stood by his side and faced her. I need you to trust me. She put a hand on her chest and waited for her breathing to slow down. Her legs were wobbly, like she wouldn't be able to stand much longer. She cleared her throat and looked back and forth from me to Fox. What do you want with us? She asked Fox in a quiet voice. He pointed at the kitchen. Chicken from your magic box? She looked confused before she stared back at She looked confused before she stared back at me. Jonah? I had no idea what she was going to ask me. The only thing I knew for sure was that we were running out of time. Uncle Mike would be there soon with his gun. Yes, ma'am, I gulped. Oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am, I gulped. My mom took a deep breath. Go get another plate for your friend. I smiled at her and laughed. She smiled back. Are we going to stand around and talk? Fox asked with his two front paws up in the air. Are we going to eat some chicken? My mom shook her head and laughed. She walked over to me and Fox. I trust you, Jonah. I've always trusted you. She hugged me and bent down to face Fox. You're a cute little guy, aren't you? She stroked his head and rubbed his ears. Right there, he said. Yep, a little to the left. I laughed at the huge smile on his face while his tail whipped back and forth. Then my mom said the one thing that let me know everything was okay. Any friend of Jonah's is a friend of mine. Welcome to our home. The end. And that was the end of the book. What did you guys think of it? Was it something that interests you? Did you like how the story was played out and how things were set up? This is the first time I've done like an Amazon Kindle book, and this happened to be just a free download and it had really good reviews, so I wanted to see if you guys were interested in it too. But yeah, let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next few videos. Again, like I said, the next few videos will be some activities that dive into the book or that correlate with the book. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.